however long you want to take this.
Oh, okay. So here's my first one. Here we go.
Hit it.
Welcome to the AV Wannabe, a podcast where I force my brother to watch movies based off of the books I love. I'll be your host, Aubrie, and this is my mad scientist brother, Brad.
Welcome to the club.
We're switching it up this week.
We are. You, first off, just introduced us.
I just did the intro.
Yeah.
A little different setup. We switched it up because I love Frankenstein, the book. It's one of my faves.
Yeah.
And you didn't have a ton of knowledge of Frankenstein.
I just know that there's a Frankenweenie.
Oh, yeah.
And I know that you say Frankenstein, and then people will look in that direction and you can run away.
Oh, that's a good one.
And that he's green and has stubs in his neck.
Mm.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty accurate.
That's all I really know. I know that you got really into Frankenstein when you read the book, and I had every intention to read it. I just don't read.
Right. So what did you think of the film of Frankenstein 1931?
First off, like, this is a movie made in the 30s. Really old movie.
Mm-hmm.
It was branded as a horror movie. I thought it was more of a comedy.
I thought the same thing. If you hadn't been like, this is a horror movie, I thought it would be like bad comedy.
Yeah, like everything was so overly dramatic and funny.
Yeah.
that I don't know. I just thought it was a funny movie, a funny short movie.
Mm-hmm. Very short.
Thank God it was short, because there were some scenes that were already outdoing their welcome.
Yeah.
I'm glad I watched it once. I'm not sure if I'm going to watch it again. Maybe to be like, hey, have you ever seen Frankenstein from the 30s?
Yeah.
It's worth a watch.
Yeah. Do you think you'll ever read the book?
The whole time this movie was going on, I constantly wanted to look over at you and be like, did this happen in the book? Like, is that how this went? Because, I mean, a lot of the stuff didn't make sense to me.
Right. Well, let me tell you. Well, okay, first I should ask, how spoilery do you want me to go into the book?
I mean, you might as well. Like,
Okay, seeing as we watched the movie. And
well,
stuff.
I guess I should ask, like, how different is this from the book?
It's very different. It's so different. I don't think it deserves to be called Frankenstein.
Really?
Yeah. It's dramatically different.
Oh, so like there's nothing really consistent with the book then?
No. There's only two that I could pinpoint.
Like,
and honestly, I think there's only two things that were from the book.
Like two scenes?
Two like ideas. They weren't even like quotes. They were just ideas. Even the characters' names were not right.
They're not right?
They're not right.
So he wasn't called Frankenstein?
Well, Frankenstein's name is Victor.
that was the other guy's name.
And his best friend in the book is named Henry.
Wait,
but
so
they've switched their names to where it's Henry Frankenstein and his best friend Victor. But that's
what's the point? What was the point with that?
It's completely the opposite.
They just used the same exact names. Why couldn't they just keep it consistent then?
I read that they made Frankenstein's name Henry because they thought Victor would be too intimidating for American audiences.
No, you know what? That makes sense. They made the right choice then, because Henry is much more less intimidating than Victor is.
But I don't know why they were trying to make him less intimidating. Like, everything else about this character is intimidating. Why would they hold back on the name? I mean, I guess they do use his name a lot, but
yeah.
I don't
constantly
know.
Like, Frankenstein.
Henry. But that's it. They're using like Frankenstein, not Henry.
The village people are using Frankenstein, but the girl, she only recalls him Henry.
Right. I thought it was weird how they kept both names and just swapped them.
Well, that doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense.
It's like if we watched Harry Potter and they're like, run, you're the chosen one. And then they're like, thanks, Harry. You know what I mean? It's just like.
Yeah, it's completely backwards. Like, it'd be one thing if they just changed both names altogether. or changed one, but they didn't. They just
Or
like
just
you said,
not change them. Like, they're normal names.
they're
like,
normal names. Victor's a fine name. Like, there's nothing intimidating. There's nothing scary about Victor.
I could have called him Vic.
Yeah, look, I don't know. So that wasn't right. The only things that were right is the idea that Frankenstein wanted to feel like God. He wanted to be the creator of something.
Okay.
And that he got body parts from robbing graves. Those are the only two things that were consistent with this movie and book.
Did he also get body parts from hanging at the gallows?
I don't think so. I think he primarily robbed graves.
Just dug up some dead people.
And just got body parts from here and there. And
they dig them all up at the same time? Because, I mean, if you're in a graveyard, there's multiple plots to choose from.
It's like the grocery store of body parts.
Ooh, I think I'll have a little bit of Aunt May over here. Some of Chris.
He was a good man. I bet he has a great leg.
Yeah. Oh, look, another Henry. I'm going to take his head. You know?
Yeah. No. He like gathers them throughout the course of a time. Though they're not all fresh. They don't all match. He's hodgepodged.
Okay, you're still kind of losing me on he like gathers them. It's not like you're walking down the street and you just see bodies.
Well, like
you're like, that one's gonna fit in my collection.
He's like in a town, so it's not like you have like a ton that are recently deceased.
Oh yeah, I guess I'm not thinking about it in like a isolated town kind of scenario
right.
where it's like there's only 100 people or something.
Yeah. I don't know why he didn't use just one body. I can't remember why. But he definitely had different parts from, and he would collect them here and there.
Maybe like the bicep off of one guy.
He could.
He's like, I'm going to make this guy ripped.
Could have been. Who knows?
Yeah.
Those were the only things that were
consistent with the book. Wow.
I mean, I guess Elizabeth kind of was.
Oh, so she wasn't even consistent with the book.
Not entirely.
So they're not fiancés in the book.
No, they are. But I guess she's pretty consistent in the book. They grow up together. Elizabeth is adopted into their family, into the Frankenstein family.
Oh, really?
But she's adopted for him.
To marry.
Wow. And then they like grow up together, and then Frankenstein goes off to college. And that is where he makes his creation, is at college. So when he graduates, that's when they're supposed to get married. But he's off at school, and then that's when things go awry for Frankenstein.
She should have went to school too.
She should have. But
they didn't want their women educated back then.
She would have been smart to leave him.
She would have wised up. She would have been like, wait a second, I have opportunities now. I don't have to be with the crazy man.
You're crazy.
But once you get them young, you can like indoctrinate them, make them think that you're like sane.
Yeah.
Yeah. Should take note of that. Oh man. Wow. That sounds so much different. So in the book, he's a college student. He's not even like, because in this one, he's a professor who got tired of the university's ethics and morals and then takes off. Does the university, what was that one old guy that was helping him, a university professor of his?
Yeah.
That seemed like it was the dean of the school or something like that. Anyway, you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Does he help him in the book?
No. It's he starts his creation because he's had this wild idea of surpassing regular orthodox experiments, and he's trying to like push the envelope, but all his professors, all his mentors are like, you're going too far, this is crazy. And so he was trying to prove them wrong, so I guess that's kind of accurate, and nobody helped him. He was doing it all basically out of spite.
So he didn't have like an Igor with the
No,
chain.
He also did it all alone. He did not have an assistant.
Yeah.
It was just him. Also, there was never any electricity involved.
No?
It's never disclosed in the book how he brings life.
Oh.
I don't know.
CPR. That's the best way. Chest compressions.
Staying alive. Yeah, it's never told in the book There's like skeptics that are like, oh, it was chemicals and stuff, but it's never, and it doesn't happen instantly.
Why even call this Frankenstein then?
Exactly. Well, when Frankenstein in the book creates life, it didn't work. And so he left, and he's doing this all in his dorm room, basically. And so he like left the room, and then a long time has passed, and then he starts hearing things coming from the room.
Ooh.
And so it was unexpected that his creature came to life.
So he just like kept it in his closet.
Basically.
And then it slowly gained life.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds creepy
Mm-hmm.
and super cool. You see, I was expecting in the film when he like brings him back down from the thunderstorm that it wasn't going to happen and everyone was going to be like, you freaking kook, it didn't work. And then walked out and then the hand would raise.
Yeah.
So I was kind of surprised to see the hand raise and him be like, it's alive!
Yeah. Well, also in the book, when he sees that his creature's alive, he's not excited and enthralled. He freaks out because he realizes it's horrible and he leaves it. He just takes off. He leaves the dorm.
He books it.
And this newborn creature is looking for it's something. Its creator, its father figure. It's like yearning for someone.
Are you my mommy? It goes around and it starts asking everything. Just like that nice children's book. Are you my mommy? And then the
RA said no.
So then it went up to the dean. It was like, are you my mommy? And it was like, no, I'm not your mommy. And so the monster continued his search for Frankenstein.
You know, I think that would be more accurate than the movie.
Wow. Man, I was about to ask, like, did he, for the brain in the books, Frankenstein, did they even use the same type of scenario?
No, I don't remember there being anything of like, this is a criminal brain versus a good brain.
So there's no point in really comparing the book to this movie.
No, I would say not at all.
Wow.
Not at all. I would say going into this thinking that this had anything to do with the book is a mistake, because I think this is one of the worst movies I've ever watched.
For an adaptation of a book.
Right.
It's got its name.
Yeah.
Character names.
Mm-hmm. But it's wrong. I would have been happier if they had called this The Creature or like The Monster.
They already used The Creature.
Did they?
I know that there's a thing called The Creature from the Lagoon or something like that.
Like if they would have named it something else, then I'd be like, all right. Like if they named it like Victor or something.
Yeah.
They were trying to one for one the book, but they didn't at all.
Does the monster kill people in the book?
If I remember correctly, one. I think it's just one.
Was it a little girl?
No. No. Do you want me to tell you who it was?
It was Henry.
No.
The professor.
No.
Elizabeth.
No.
His daddy.
No.
It doesn't matter then.
Okay. You don't meet the character in the movie that he kills.
This is his roommate. His next door neighbor.
No, but you don't meet him.
Yeah.
You don't know who it is.
Wow. Well, I mean, the fact that this one doesn't even take place out of school.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's different.
I had never been so relieved that a movie ended in my life.
I guess we never got your opinion about it. What do you think about this movie?
I didn't like it at all. I think because I was so disappointed that it wasn't anything like the book. And I know it cannot be just like the book because there's not enough time. It happened in the 30s.
Well, it is a short book, too.
It is a very small book. But it just didn't hit any of the marks. I can understand not hitting everything because that's too hard and it's impossible. I get that. But this didn't have anything. Like, not even close.
Wow.
To being the story of Frankenstein. So I was completely disappointed by this movie. I was so bored the entire time. And I was honestly to the point of like making fun of everybody as the movie went on.
Well, I mean, we were making fun of them because it was so ridiculous.
But like, I hated everybody.
Well, that's what I was saying about why I enjoyed this movie. It was making fun of it was the funny part.
Yeah.
Like when all the villagers are going after the beast, I constantly was making Beauty and the Beast jokes.
Yeah.
When it's like, who's with me? Let's kill the beast, you know?
Yeah, well, in all of these scenes in this movie, like you said, were too long. Like when they're trying to bring the creature to life, so they're using the storm, that's too long. When they're going to hunt down the creature, it's like 10 minutes of watching a crowd scurry around. It is so too much, too long.
Well, like, let's do a couple breakdowns here. When they're going to confront Henry, and it's like they're at the front door, that scene too long because it's like, oh, don't bother him, and they like go to this door 5 times and close it in front of people. And then eventually he's like, all right, come on up.
Yeah.
and then he's like, sit down. Now get back up to come look at this. And then the village scene, the villagers like going after him with their pitchforks and torches and stuff. Like if they had gotten rid of every single scene where they cut to like the women in the buildings, it would have been much better when they're exiting. Because I actually thought that all the guys with their pitchforks and torches looked pretty good. But once they're out on the river and stuff, don't. And then when they're in the mountains, you could see the curtain behind them with all the ripples. Like you could see the ripples in the curtain as clear as day. And then they're using the same 2 scenes.
The same 2 sets.
Yeah, same 2 sets, I should say. Like the only time it changes is when they put in that one boulder to indicate where the monster is. And it's like they're running around in the same area, around in circles, and you're like, dude, the monster was right there.
Which would have been fine if they didn't spend so long there.
They spent forever there.
If it was just real quick, you wouldn't have been able to pick up. But the fact that they were there for so long, you were able to be like, hang on, they were just there.
And then the windmill scene had one of my favorite scenes in it. And it's when he throws Frankenstein off the windmill.
That dummy.
And it hits the windmill blade. It's like his back bends over backwards.
Yeah.
And then Frankenstein lands on the ground, apparently totally fine. Enough to where at the end, the dad makes a joke of like, my son doesn't need this fine wine. I just need another Frankenstein boy to take on the name.
Well, in the original cut of this movie, that was the scenario. But when they first released it, they thought it was too morbid. No. What am I saying?
I don't know.
The original cut is that he's supposed to die.
I was thinking he should have died.
The original cut is that he died when he was thrown off. But they said that was too morbid. And so they were like, oh, he should be alive. So the end scene with Frankenstein in the bed, that's not that actor anymore because he was no longer available to be doing scenes. So that's a different actor because they had to go back and reshoot.
It was back before reshoots where you had to have like a clause in the contract where it's like you come back for so many reshoots.
Yeah.
Wow.
So he was supposed to be dead.
They should have just kept him dead. Anybody would die from
Anybody would die from that. Yeah. It was a really high fall too. Then to land on the blade like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. After also being in a fight with this ginormous creature.
Yeah.
Who could survive that?
The little girl.
Yeah.
What a horrible scene.
I know. It was so horrible to where I was like, did that just happen?
Like, I was expecting the girl to pop up and be like, why'd you throw me?
And then they were like best friends or something.
Like playing in the water or something like that. No. Tosses her in the water, dead. Moving on. That was very unexpected. And I felt really bad because I laughed when he tossed her in the water.
Right. Well, because the water's so shallow, it was such like a innocent toss too.
Yeah.
She should have been fine. So it was like, oh, haha, this is going to be funny. And then it didn't get funny. And then it was like,
then it was horrible.
I didn't understand what I just watched.
Oh my goodness, dude. Like, this is why I'm like saying I'm thankful it was only an hour-long movie. Because like when the dad's walking down the streets holding his daughter in his arms. By the way, props to that little girl for dangling about.
I know. That's what I was thinking. Like she got carried a long way.
A long ass way.
Just
dude.
being dead weight dangling with her head like that. Oh, she must have had such a headache later.
Such a headache, head rush, whatever. But those stupid bells wouldn't stop belling.
Yeah,
Like,
that's what I wanted to say about this movie too, is that it was just noise. Like noise of the storm, noise of the crowd, there's bells, the dogs are barking. There's just noise going on all the time.
and it's so loud. It's so prevalent. It's one thing if it was like more muted in the background so that way you could hear and think, but it's so loud and it's so everywhere that you're just like, I can't understand what's going on because all I'm hearing are like 15 bells constantly going on. When they're singing and dancing and when they're angry, somebody's got to get these bells under control. And then when the dogs were barking, those dogs did not stop barking
No.
for the whole scene.
The entire chase, they are barking.
When they're setting up the groups, they're barking then. They're barking when they're leaving the village. They're barking when they're searching. They're barking when they're chasing the Frankenstein. They're barking at the stupid windmill. They're barking when the windmill's on fire, and they're barking when the stupid monster dies.
Yeah.
It's not even like a background bark. It is in the foreground.
And these dogs don't have like a normal bark. They're the hound dogs that have the most annoying bark. It's like they're having a bad day moaning or something.
It was so annoying.
I hated it. I just wanted it to shut up.
The best part about this movie was the monster.
Yeah.
I thought he was very entertaining. I liked the way he moved. I liked the way he like went,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I thought he was the best, even though they had that one scene of him going into the bedroom with Elizabeth.
Uh-huh.
They should have cut that out of him entering
Yeah.
because he's too graceful.
Yeah.
He's too great. He like is able to open up a window and then get in there
Without her noticing.
without her noticing. They should have done something else. I actually think I would have liked it if he would have tumbled into the window, glass shattering, him getting back up and her being like, ah!
Yeah. Well, going back to the book for a second, he does end up becoming this graceful thing, but after so much time. This is all happening like so quickly in like a day. There's no way he could learn that much because he had to learn to walk and talk and everything else. There's no way he could be that graceful that quickly.
I don't know how much time passed since his birth.
I think it was only like a day because, well, it was a few days because I think it was 3 since he was born. Because when Frankenstein was talking to his professor or whoever that mentor guy was, he's like, it's only been 3 days.
Oh, really? I didn't
Give him
catch that.
time. You have to be patient. But from then to the wedding, it's only been like a day, I think.
So like 4 or 5 days max.
Right. But when we first meet the creature, he's still clumsy and can't figure anything out yet.
Well, that's what I liked about him. I liked his,
Oh, yeah.
I liked his clumsy movements. I liked how he would sit down on a chair. And so for him to go directly from stumbling about to pulling flowers awkwardly and tossing that girl in the water awkwardly to being able to open up a glass window and bend over and snake his way in there and stuff like
Yeah.
that. They should have approached that scene differently. And then also he doesn't kill her.
Yeah, I don't know what is the point of that. To show that now she's crazy? Like, because also they're not like sticking to their guns because Frankenstein had his little mental breakdown and he recovers so quickly. And then now she's had her breakdown and then we don't really see her ever again until she's sitting next to him at the bed.
Yeah.
So how did she end up on the bed like that? I don't know.
Why isn't all the villagers angry at Dr. Frankenstein, by the way?
I don't think they know that he made it. How would they?
Well, then how do they know what they're chasing?
Good point.
Because the one guy, he just knows his daughter was murdered.
Yeah, he doesn't know by who or what.
He
or
doesn't know
anything.
who did it. He doesn't know that Frankenstein.
How does he know she was murdered then? What if she just drowned?
That's the other thing is if I had a daughter that wasn't able to swim, first off, you live right next to a stupid lake. She's probably going to drop in there one day out of curiosity of something.
Well, and she's young, so it's like
Don't leave her
accidents
alone.
happen. Yeah, yeah.
Playing with a cat, which
Disappears all of a
disappears.
sudden. Like the scene is like she's on the floor holding it, and then she stands up, and her arm is in the same position, but the cat is gone.
And now she's got flowers.
Yeah.
Like, it's still a horrible scene, but I don't know. There's so much of this movie that's like inconsistent. It's lame.
Yeah. I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt because it's so old.
It was 1931.
It's very old. We're
And-
almost coming up on 100 years since this movie came out.
Right. It is ridiculously old.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to be hard on this movie.
Right.
But at the same time, like Rotten Tomatoes gives it 100%.
100%?
It is 100% fresh.
I don't think I've ever heard a movie be 100% on Rotten Tomatoes.
100% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh my
So, like,
gosh.
if you're going in there with a Rotten Tomatoes idea of what this movie is about, don't. Like, you can appreciate it because it was revolutionary for its time.
Right.
Let's be honest. You're not going to be super entertained from this movie unless you're laughing at it or you're analyzing it.
Yeah, if you're like a big film buff, you might love it.
If you're just bringing your average Joe or your like 13-year-old sister into it or whatever that just occasionally watches movies, they're not going to like this movie.
Yeah.
Like
it's boring. Like it doesn't make sense. I didn't like it.
Yeah. And you love the Frankenstein story.
Mm-hmm.
We really watched this movie because of you.
Because of me, because I loved the book so much. I wanted to watch the movie.
And I was like, well, this is the first time they made it, so this has got to be something similar to it.
Yeah. Well, and it's iconic. Like the poster, that's what shows up on Halloween and merchandise is this Frankenstein.
Well, like Frankenstein, it's so iconic and it's at Universal. Like,
yeah.
They made a ton of money off of it.
Mm-hmm.
And like even the makeup design of that monster, it's copyrighted to Universal for another 6 years. And then they lose their copyright. They're only 5 years shy of having it for a whole 100 years. A whole is that a century?
I think so.
They're 5 years shy of having a copyright for a century.
Wow.
And people still dress up like that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it set the tone for like the Munsters and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it's still being used. Like in kids' cartoons, there's Frankenstein and it's everywhere.
Yeah. Very iconic.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know either. I would say skip this.
The book is so small. You could probably read the book in a couple of days. I would read the book 1,000,000 times before I'd watch this movie again.
You could probably bang the book out in one day if you're a decent speed reader.
It's thin. I think it's single-spaced.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's such a small book. And it's such a good book.
I'll have to give it a read.
I think you should.
Yeah.
I think I'll reread it. I've only read it once, so my memory is honestly pretty foggy, and it's been a couple of years. But I still remember just loving it.
I like the idea of the monster slowly becoming sentient
Right.
rather than immediately raising his hand.
Well, the majority of the book, honestly, isn't his creation or anything. It's him telling his story.
Oh, so it's him recounting what happened?
Uh-huh.
Hmm.
So he's explaining his life, basically.
Okay.
The creature is.
Oh, the creature
The
is?
creature is.
Oh, so it's told by the creature.
It's both. The book is narrated by Frankenstein, but the bulk of it is the creature sharing.
I was not expecting that.
Yeah, because this movie focuses on like the creation and destruction from the creature, but the book is so much more than that.
So in the book, the creature actually gains intelligence. Like he's
Yeah.
able to form words and sentences. Wow.
There's a reason I don't call it a monster.
Does
There's
he
a
have
reason.
another name?
No, but
He doesn't
there's
go by like Fred?
this is Frank Jr.
They don't call him
Little
Victor?
Frankie.
Little Victor?
Little Vic.
Junior? Junior! They don't call him like Henry 2.0?
Yeah, but if you read it, you would understand the resentment of calling it a monster instead of a creature.
Oh.
I highly recommend to read it. It's a classic. It's something I think everybody should be a part of,
Yeah.
experiencing Frankenstein. And it's such a small book. Why wouldn't you?
Why not?
Yeah, I think I'll reread it. We can
Very-
have book club.
Very romantic novel.
It is, but not in the sense of like it's love, but like the words are romantic. It's very flowery writing, like
Descriptive.
the grass was lime green with a little dew pouring onto the ladybug. Yeah, but I love it, and I think it should be read.
Mm.
It's an experience to read. I think that's pretty much all I have. Is there anything else you're wondering or any other things you want to talk about the movie?
Where does Frankenstein...
Frankenstein?
Where's the Frankenstein? No, where does Frankenstein take place? Because, like, in this movie, it looked like it was happening at an Oktoberfest.
Right, somewhere in, like, Germany.
Yeah.
I don't remember, honestly. Somewhere in Europe.
All right, good enough. I'm pretty sure all Europeans look like that. So
Close enough.
just throw a dart. You nail it. Why was Frankenstein so fascinated by the idea of creating a human life? Like, how did he start down this path of wanting to do this?
So I think his area of study, if I remember correctly, was metaphysics. Like the
Look, I took physics at college, and I don't understand metaphysics.
it's like the bridge of death and life.
Okay.
So afterlife, I guess. I think he was supposed to be studying to be a doctor, but then he went down like a road of metaphysics, I think. Let me look it up, actually.
He's so fascinated by it in this movie. I'm not sure how fascinated he was by it in the book, that he's like willing to sacrifice everything to just create this life. It's like, dude, the creation of life has been around with humanity for a long time. I could understand it if he was like trying to have a son with his wife. They couldn't conceive. So he's like, I'm going to make a son.
Yeah, so he was studying the body, is what I think the book says. Is he studying the body, and then he's discovering like the decay part of death, and then he's just curious with it and tries to take it a step further, and that's when he starts to become infatuated with life. He like has this fantasy of wanting to create life and improve life and make his own version of life so that he could be that god, that creator. And so that's what started. It was just an obsession.
Okay, that makes sense.
There's also other theories with his mother dying and being upset by that, because this starts soon after his mother dies.
Oh, really?
I mean, it depends how analytical you get with the book, which you could get. There's so much to dissect. So if you just gloss over this book, it's great on its own, but there's so much to look deeper into. And that's one of the things, is a psychological thing.
Did he take his mother's heart and put it in his creature? So that way the creature would have a mother's love.
He just wanted to hug his mom again. No. I don't know.
No, I don't think I have much else to talk about. I don't know what to ask, because it's like, why was the university doctor dude working with Frankenstein? But we talked about how this didn't even happen in the book.
Yeah, there's like, I could sit here all night and tell you about the book, but it has nothing to do with the movie.
Yeah, with the movie, it's like, I don't think they were even thinking that far ahead. I think they were just like, let's hit some beats and then call it a day.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I feel like it was a disservice to Mary Shelley.
When was that book written?
I think Frankenstein was written by Mary Shelley in 1817.
Holy crap. That's like 100 years before the movie. More than 100 years before this movie.
It says Shelley completed her writing in April/May, gray area.
Understandable.
Of 1817.
That's way early.
And it was published on January 1st, 1818 by the small London publishing house.
Wow, Mary Shelley. That's thinking way, way ahead right there.
Yeah.
When did George Orwell? Because he did like 1984, and he was like in the 1800s, wasn't he?
1984 came out in 1949.
I was thinking he wrote that in the 1800s. Never mind.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, these guys back in the 1800s had a vivid imagination.
But it was amazing for Mary Shelley to be able to do this, because a lot of women that wrote like this, first of all, they weren't allowed to write really at all.
No, they weren't allowed to think.
But they considered them to be mad. They'd lock them away.
She is Frankenstein.
Yeah.
No, this is an amazing piece of work. Like, it still is standing the test of time.
Yeah.
What, 200 years later?
Yeah.
Like, it's still a fascinating piece of work, literature. Like, that's impressive.
Yeah.
Even just the ideas of just like the imagination of being like, oh, hey, there's a scientist that creates life, you know? There's so much that is based off of that now of like a scientist wanting to create life and things go awry.
Yeah.
But it's funny that she wrote something of like the creature having its own story and having this deep, complex thing that you keep alluding to that doesn't really get told nowadays still. I think there's a
No.
couple things that have that, but not really.
Well, like, people still refer to the creature as Frankenstein. They still think its name is Frankenstein.
I know, right? Frankenstein is a monster if you think about it.
He is.
Yeah, his hubris.
And how the creature is still portrayed as a monster, this destructive, creepy, crazy, mad thing, when that's not Mary Shelley's Frankenstein.
It's got to be a lot of religious overtones about it, right? Like people playing God, and that if anything created by man can't be good.
Yeah, I think so. I think you could definitely say that.
Like, because if you're saying that the creature has its own story, you don't like it when it's called a monster because there's more complexities to it. It means that there's so much more that we're missing here.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of like Frankenweenie. Like,
Okay, Frankenweenie, the original 30-minute Frankenweenie, way better than Frankenstein.
well, that almost sounds like that, what you're describing.
Yeah.
Like, because Frankenweenie, the dog is still the dog. Like, he still loves his family. He's not bad. He's a good boy, knows how to sit. And then everyone's just scared of him because he's disfigured.
Yeah.
And then at the end, they bring him back, you know, and he's back with his family. It almost sounds like that. Like, there's more to this Frankenstein that is sadly not known.
Yeah. Not entirely like Frankenweenie, although I do love Frankenweenie.
Yeah.
But definitely more to it.
Mm.
And I've already given away a lot, but there's still a lot more.
Yeah. Is there anything you would like to talk about?
I don't think so.
It's a very short film.
It's so short, but you know, I'm really glad that it was only an hour and 10.
Yep.
Because I was like, oof, this is rough.
Yeah, it was.
I was also just salty the whole time because I'm like, who the heck is this assistant? Which I thought the assistant was so funny looking because it looked like a fine dude that just had like a pillow in his shirt.
I like this little walking stick.
Tiny cane. Well, no wonder you got a hunched back. You're using a foot cane.
You need a bigger cane, bro.
You need a bigger cane, man. I thought it was funny how he had to like shimmy up the pole and cut down the dead guy and everything.
And then he announced he's getting up.
I'm coming down.
I'm coming down. I'm coming over. Enter frame.
I also hated him because he like kept like teasing the monster, kept like waving the flame in him and whipping him, and I also hated him for that. And it's like, hey man, you're gross too, so don't do that. Be his friend. Ugh.
Shall we get into facts?
Yeah.
Fact time.
How many facts do you got for me this time?
I wrote down facts, and then we realized halfway through it that I shouldn't be writing down too many facts.
Yeah.
I have a couple. I want to do like this box office thing. So in the box office, it made $1.4 million back in 1932.
Our million or their million?
I converted it to current day. 2020, it made $26,597,956.20.
Wow.
But on Wikipedia, it also listed how much profit it made. It made $709,000 of profit, right? Which roughly $13,500,000.
Wow.
So they made a lot of money off this movie.
And continue to.
Yeah, and then they made more movies off of this. Bride of Frankenstein, Son of Frankenstein. Like, it's a whole series. Like, when you go on the Backlot tour, it's part of the Dark Universe with Dracula and all of them. So it's a huge thing. This isn't even taking into fact money they made over the years through merchandise. Like, they just made tons of money off this series.
Yeah.
You know, it sucks that Mary Shelley never got to see any of this profit.
Yeah. Really.
I feel bad for her, really, more than the creature or anyone else.
For sure.
Like, She made this amazing thing that just is making ridiculous money, and she probably didn't see a fraction of it.
No, probably not.
That sucks.
Mm-hmm.
I have on here that when they had the monster all make-uped up,
Yeah.
they were afraid that the 7-year-old girl would be afraid of him when they start filming, because I guess the main actress that played Elizabeth was afraid of him.
Oh.
Yeah, to where he would like wiggle his pinky to let her know that it was still him.
What?
Yeah, I thought it was really weird.
That's strange.
But I guess she was super scared of him.
He doesn't even look that scary.
I know. I thought he looked funny.
Yeah.
But
we've all met somebody with a bigger brow.
a bigger brow, maybe square of the head.
Yeah.
I don't know
Doesn't
why.
drink enough water.
Doesn't get out in the sun much.
We all know them.
Yeah. Greasy hair. Come on. Yeah, no, I don't know why everyone was so scared of I guess it was a big horror back in the day, but they were worried about this 7-year-old girl being too scared to do the scene with him. But the second she saw him, she ran up to him, held his hand, and asked if she could ride in his car with him to the shoot. And he replied in his British accent, like, yeah, very, very good. Jolly good. I don't think he actually said that, but you know.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah.
It's like the real girl in the movie.
Yeah.
So friendly.
Because in the movie, she grabs his hand.
Yeah.
And they're holding hands.
She's like, hi, I'm Maria.
Yeah. Was it Maria?
I think it was Maria.
I don't remember. I thought it was like Marilyn or something like that.
Sure.
So the guy that played the monster, his name is Boris Karloff.
Mm-hmm.
He was considered to be such an anonymous actor by Universal that he wasn't invited to the premiere.
Oh my gosh. Why? Why would they do that?
I guess to them, they're like, why would you invite a guy that you just hired to be in the background? You know, a nobody.
He's the star.
Dude, I would say that too. I would say he is the actor in this movie.
Yeah. I would say he's the main event.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why they would do that to that poor man. Poor British lad.
It doesn't make any sense because he's got the most screen time.
Mm-hmm.
So what if he's an unknown person? You're like, you don't even have to put attention onto him because like even if nobody knew him, he could still go to his premiere.
Right. He should still be able to go to his premiere. Also, they cast him as the creature. Why would they think that he's not worthy of going to the premiere?
In the beginning of this movie and the beginning credits, his role is just a question mark.
Really?
Yeah.
What?
Because they didn't want to spoil that there was a creature or something like that.
That the creature wasn't real?
Yeah. At the end of the credits, they then put his name as the monster that he played. Like, you know.
Oh, okay. That's so strange.
So, like, I guess they didn't want to spoil it, maybe? I don't know.
But if he wasn't, whatever. I don't know.
It's weird because, like, this guy, his likeness as the monster is still up in Universal Studios City.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, in Hollywood, like, on that, like, garage, the covered garage, you could see from the freeway.
Yeah.
You could see his Frankenstein up there.
Mm-hmm.
It's huge.
Yeah.
They use this guy's likeness and everything.
Yeah.
And he couldn't even go to the stupid premiere.
He couldn't even go to his own premiere.
Oh.
Great.
You know what? Maybe they did him a solid because this movie was trash.
I didn't want to go anyway. Terrible movie.
My last one was that his shoes weighed 13 pounds each.
Whoa.
Yeah. And that they were more commonly known as hot asphalt boots. Construction workers and stuff that would work on roads would wear them, and it would keep that hot asphalt from hurting their feet.
Oh.
That's why they're so big and heavy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Calling construction workers creatures.
Monsters. Thank you very much.
Monsters. Wow.
Yeah, that's all the facts I had.
All right. Well, I've got a few.
Hit me with those facts.
So the little girl, Maria,
Mm-hmm.
when she gets thrown into the lake or pond or whatever it is.
Very funny scene until she dies.
Until she dies. She only had 3 swimming lessons.
Oh, so she did die.
Only had 3 swimming lessons, and she had never been underwater before. And so they threw her in, and she had never experienced being submerged.
What kind of life did this girl leave?
Well, she's
Wait.
She did die.
What kind of life did this girl live? Not being underwater completely by 7?
I don't know. Well, I mean, I don't know how common it was to learn how to swim back then. Our grandma doesn't know how to swim.
Oh, she doesn't?
No, she had never been swimming. She doesn't know how.
She grew up in San Diego,
I don't know.
like right next to Balboa Park.
I know, but she does
She
not know
never
how to
want-
swim.
That's like walking distance from the beach. She never once was like, oh, I'm going to go swim in that ocean.
Mm-mm. It scares her.
What a weird grandma we have here. Like,
But get this, she wants to go on a cruise.
so that way when the boat goes down, she's screwed.
But she doesn't want to go to the beach because the ocean scares her. But she wants to go
In
on
the
a
middle of
cruise
the ocean?
where there's nothing but ocean as far as the eye can see. Isn't that crazy? She said it's different because the boat is so big. And I said, no.
Well, I mean, those Carnival cruises are huge.
But you're still in the middle of the ocean and you still feel the waves.
You'll still feel those big waves.
Mm-hmm.
I have no clue. I've never been on one, so I can't say how much you feel of it.
I can't either, but I can't imagine it's just like being on land.
But yeah, I was going to say, like, if I was scared to go to the beach, the last thing I'd want would be in the middle of the ocean.
The middle of the ocean scares me more than the beach because the beach is the beach. There's land where land and sea unite to inspire. there's, you're safe, you're fine, whatever.
Yeah.
The middle of the ocean is where things get scary, where there's the unknown. There's nobody out there to save you.
She needs to watch the Titanic, man.
I need to watch the Titanic.
Oh, I don't want to watch it.
Oh.
It's such a long movie.
And I've never seen it.
Oh, I'll add it to the list.
I guess we changed our format so we don't have to anymore.
We changed our format?
Yeah, now this is a podcast where I show you movies of books I love.
Well, crap. There we go.
So, anyway, back to my fact.
Mm-hmm.
She had never been underwater before. And so they kept throwing her in. But the first time they did it, she was wearing so many petticoats that she was floating.
Petticoats float?
I mean, it's a bunch of fabric. It'll hold air.
I thought you would have sank quicker with too many coats.
I guess they'd like throw her in and she'd just be like floating on top. So they had to
Wow.
take all her petticoats out so that she would sink.
Yeah. And maybe like push her down with a stick.
Get down there.
Although we never
Sink.
even really see her. Like, we just see her get thrown in. We don't even
You
see.
don't even see like a splash or anything.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't think. Wait, did we see a
I
splash?
don't remember.
If we did see a splash, that's all you saw was
Yeah.
like, it was a hard cut after that to him walking away from
Mm-hmm.
the house. Like, it was
Yeah.
a distant shot.
Mm-hmm. But anyway, the director was so pleased with the shot after they got it. He said he'd get her anything she wanted. Guess what she asked for?
Chocolate cake.
No.
Please say like a car.
She asked for a dozen hard-boiled eggs because that's her favorite snack.
What a lame snack. Oh my gosh.
I know. She couldn't even ask for like cake or pie or, Disneyland or something.
Dozen hard-boiled eggs. When I said like chocolate cake and you said no, I was like, oh, this girl, she shot for the stars. She was like,
No.
limo ride, extra large cheese pizza all to herself, going over to the toy store during Christmas, gets whatever she wants from the toy store from Christmas, back to the hotel room, watches a scary movie with gunshots, and then is then chased by a bunch of burglars.
That sounds like a good movie.
It's a plot of Home Alone 2.
Yeah, she wanted eggs. 12 eggs. I can barely eat one hard-boiled egg before I'm like, well,
Dude,
smells like farts.
I'd skip out on Easter egg hunting if I knew that there wasn't plastic eggs filled with candy, because I don't like hard-boiled eggs.
I don't like hard-boiled eggs either. I guess I eat them. I like force myself to eat them, but if there's the option, I won't eat them.
I think I'd just skip a meal.
Yeah, they're not great.
No.
This little girl though loved a hard-boiled egg. Mouthfuls of egg.
That director was like, I'll get you anything you want. Hard-boiled egg. That's
Yeah.
even more than wasting it. Like, I would like a Hershey's bar.
Mm-hmm.
Even then, I'd be like, you're an idiot.
Mm-hmm.
Should have went for the C's bar.
Should have at least gone king size.
Like, what the heck? Disneyland. Actually, I don't think Disneyland
whatever the-
existed at that point.
There was like an equivalence
Yeah,
to the park, to the carousel.
something.
Bring me to the trolley.
A tea party.
Yeah. Anything.
A dolly. I don't care.
Like, truly anything other than eggs.
What kind of life is she living
That's what I want to know.
to where 12 hard-boiled eggs are like the best treat you've ever had? Somebody call CPS. Like, something else is happening at that household that needs to be investigated.
Oh, man. Maybe she was just really low on protein. You know what? It was probably bulking season, and she needed the protein. And the easiest way is to eat 12 dozen eggs every morning to help you get large.
Rocky Balboa was inspired by her. Oh my goodness.
Or Gaston.
That blew my mind more than this whole freaking movie. 12 dozen. Oh.
Anyway, my last fact. The actor that played the creature, I can't think of his first name, Karloff?
Boris Karloff.
Okay, so Boris Karloff. He was actually lugging around the actor that played Frankenstein. And because he had to drag his dead body weight around everywhere, he ended up having back problems for the rest of his life.
No.
Yeah. And it's like on top of I think his costume was like 48 pounds or something. So on top of his heavy costume, and he had to lug this man around, and he had back problems forever.
That's horrible, man.
I know. And he didn't even get to go to the premiere.
And what's even worse about this is like this is definitely before like any of these
Workman's comp.
stuff is in action. So that Universal probably didn't even have to like pay out any wages for that or anything like that.
Yeah. He suffered forever now because of this.
This guy carried this film on his back.
Literally.
Literally to where it broke his back.
Broke the guy's.
And I think is the whole reason why this movie even made million.
I think so too. I think all the other actors did a terrible job.
Like, what the heck? I'd say that the one doctor, the old doctor, did a pretty good job.
I think him and Elizabeth and the dad were all right, but like the best friend, all the townspeople, you could tell they were in Frankenstein. They were just reading their lines.
The little girl did a good job.
The little girl did a good job, but the main players were just reading like.
Yeah.
They were terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible.
I feel bad for that guy.
Me too. Him and the little girl that only wants eggs.
Telling you, man, there's something else happening in that household.
Anyway, that's all I've got for Frankenstein. You?
I would like a Frankenstein movie based more off the novel
Me too.
than I would watch this again.
Mm-hmm.
I like after watching this, I have zero desire to watch Bride of Frankenstein or Son of Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Like, if all I'm gonna see is more of this,
Mm-hmm.
I've already saw enough.
Well, thanks for suffering through that with me.
Hey, no worries. I'll suffer through a lot for you, Aubrey, but don't make me suffer through that again.
I'll get you 12 eggs.
No.
All right. Well, bye.
Bye.